Hello, gorgeous! Here's my review of Smart Money, Smart Kids by Dave Ramsey and his daughter, Rachel Cruze. I'll also give you some wonderful highlights that I learned from the book. Subscribe and click the bell for another book review coming out next week, and you can get the full book linked below, and give this a like so more people can find this. Stay until the very end to get everything. There's nothing more elegant than being responsible with money, and you live your utmost high quality life when you are. It's a tool, it's not evil, it's not something you own, it's simply something you manage. You need to spend for certain things to live, and spending wisely keeps you calm and comfortable. How you handle money also rubs off on your kids, and they pick up your habits. I want to learn the best ways that I could teach my kids when it comes to money, and here are some highlights I picked up from the book Smart Money, Smart Kids by Dave Ramsey and Rachel Cruze. So the first thing is to reward your children for their hard work and chipping in towards their goal. So say for example, you manage to get your kid to have them save for whatever allowance or whatever commission is what they like to say in the book. They don't give their kids allowance, they give them commission. So they work and they earn for what they have or what they earned, and they keep that money, whether it's from a job or for things that you do around the house or help you in your business. And say they want to save $300 for a toy or like an iPad that a kid was eyeing in the store in the book, and they would always find the kid playing with the iPad, and they notice that, oh, how about you earn towards that so you can purchase that iPad eventually, and they understand the value of working, the value of earning something. And when it comes down to it, there was a mother whose kid made $300. This kid didn't realize that there was tax, so the mother said you can't buy it because you have $300 but you don't have enough to pay for it, where the mother could have simply paid the tax. So it's important to chip in toward the goal and really reward the kid and get them excited and say, hey, I'm so glad that you did this. You did such a good job. You worked so hard. I'm going to help out with the rest because it's not a big deal for me. But next time, be prepared for tax, put a little bit aside, and here's a percentage, here's how to calculate it. So using natural real life examples of real life situations can be an honest teaching lesson with your kid. Next is to keep your word when rewarding them for their hard work. So if you say you're going to do something, stick to it. Have that honor code. Make sure you follow up on what you say you're going to do for your kid, because if you don't, then they're going to lose trust in you, and then they're going to have a difficult relationship with money and also with you. I think this is really important, because I personally had a lot of issues with my parents never following through on what they said they were going to do, which is really annoying. As an adult, I personally go above and beyond to make sure that I give even more and understate and over deliver. Also, there were a few examples in the book how Dave Ramsey's kids would save this many for this many years, putting money aside for a car, and their parents would match it to help them pay for a car. And there is this delicate balance of this one kid who earned $12,000 by having a part-time job, him having to match that $12,000. He's not going to let his kid buy a $24,000 new car that he owns. It was lucky that his son ended up wanting to buy a $12,000 used Jeep. Not spoiling your kids with these things is a very delicate balance, and it's a difficult issue that you have to deal with as a parent. Next is to let them be autonomous with their earnings. So it's important to let kids make mistakes and use those real situations as a real life lesson, because the example they use in the book was there were college kids that Rachel Cruze went to school with whose parents were so strict that they never let them do anything. So their kid's face was in a puddle of beer because they didn't know how to handle situations that when they were given a choice. Same how I think this applies personally. I noticed this here living in Los Angeles. There's a lot of crazy drivers. A lot of people are always told to stop anytime they make a turn. And on the freeway, instead of going with the speed of traffic, and when they're merging, people have a tendency to stop in the middle of traffic and then make a turn. So to merge onto another lane, which I think is very dangerous, you have to actually move while turning. When you are constantly putting stop signs everywhere, you have to face people with the reality that they should use their judgment and not govern every single little thing they do, because then they don't think for themselves and they don't know how to deal with real life situations. Another wonderful lesson I picked up from the book was to not raise selfish little ones. Teach them to give back. And a way to do this is by letting them understand that you do this too, leading by example. This is a huge one, because my parents, I noticed they would say one thing, but then they would do another thing. Children learn is what you do, not what you say. So they will pick up your habits, and even no matter how much you preach to them that this is the good thing to do, they're going to follow whatever you do. There's a famous meme of a mother on a subway reading a book, and then there's a little kid reading a little kid's book. The meme said something along the lines of children follow what their parents do, so lead by example. It's really good to see someone who's responsible in general, and it feels good when you know that you have savings, that you know that you take more time to think about your financial health, your financial fitness, juxtaposed to how much time you put into your outfit in the morning. That's just as important. Teach them to give back and not be selfish. As a kid, we're taught to share, and that's really important to understand that we do not own money, and money is not in our power to have control over the value. So we have to manage it well, and we have to be responsible with it, and we have to know that we can't be greedy and we can't be selfish with our money, that it's always important to give back. Where Dave Ramsey's son gave $10,000 away of his hard-earned money to donate in a natural disaster in South America, which is a huge deal. When you're a teenager and you make that huge decision to give your hard-earned time and effort for someone else who needs it more than you do, it made me cry. And there were so many parts of this book that absolutely made me emotional. One of my favorite parts of the book was where she said, a lot of people called her spoiled growing up. They would say, oh, Rachel, you're so spoiled, because they saw that their parents gave them a lot, which is a wonderful thing to do as a parent. You want to give your kid as many options as possible. If I had all the connections in the world, I would give all my connections to my kids to make sure that they had the best education, the best relationships, the best high quality life that they could live. I really loved that she said that one day to her parents. She kept saying this over and over, and her parents had to tell her, Rachel, you're not spoiled, you're blessed. Something that I absolutely love about Dave Ramsey is that he does not spoil his children, and he's worth probably north of $200 million. He teaches his kids the value of what it means to earn and to put in time to work and to scrounge and to be smart. Use your brain. You have it under your control. Nobody's telling you to spend your money, but live off credit, live off debt, which is not good because you don't own any of that. They also mention how they have made every mistake under the sun, how Dave Ramsey lived off credit, and how Rachel Cruze made mistakes going overdraft. So get into the habit of practice and and you'll eventually make a good lifestyle of being responsible with your finances. Another thing is that if you have children, you want them to fill out as many scholarships as possible. For example, in the United States, education here is quite expensive. This is not from the book, this is just my personal observation. K through 12 is a total joke when it comes to type of academics that they're teaching and skills that they need in order to get into a wonderful university, to having a good job. And I'm not just talking about a job, I'm talking about a career. So scholarships will help. They may take half an hour to fill out, but say if it's for $200, that's better than minimum wage half an hour's work. There's a wonderful story in the book of a young lady whose mother made her sign up for scholarship applications and grants every single day, daily, for an hour a day for 3 years, and she got $1 million in scholarships. An in-state university tuition costs about $8,000. In 3 years, if a teenager works minimum wage, they can make that money themselves. An out-of-state one costs 3 times more. It's better to go to a smaller university for less if you're spending out of pocket. And if you get scholarships and or grants to go to a larger brand name school, then go for it. But you're more likely to make a wiser decision and save your money for a smaller school because you want the piece of paper, you want the credentials. You also can do a bunch of free classes within high school in a university for free, AP classes. Those credits apply to your college, but there are also smaller colleges that you can pay for that are cheaper and easier to get into, but then you do the final years of your actual degree at the university that you graduate from. So you can also save even more money on the way if you're studying and going to work at the same time and get that higher degree. If you can get the connections with the bigger school name, go ahead, but it doesn't always guarantee you that career right away. And a lot of children are quite fickle, and I still call them children at 18. In the Jewish tradition, the eldest son has to take over the father's estate and run things when he's retired. So it's important to make your kids aware of the responsibilities they have with money and managing it properly. Dave Ramsey talked about his eldest daughter Denise, watching him sign checks to pay the bills, and she inquired vicariously as someone who was not even 10 years old. And he said he was paying for the electricity bill and it was over $200. She was surprised, put two and two together when her mom said to turn off the lights when leaving any room, and she was stunned at the price of energy and learned the value of a dollar. This was a fantastic book. I got the audiobook version, so it was Rachel Cruze and her father, Dave Ramsey, bantering back and forth. It was wonderful. It made it much more entertaining, and I love hearing the author's voices because you can get the sense of how the book is supposed to be read rather than an actor doing a bunch of voices with their own interpretation. Subscribe and click the bell for another book review coming out next week. You can get the full book linked below, and give this a like so more people can find this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.